Good morning, everyone. This is Lisa from Evolve Women's Wellness, and today we are discussing the topic of stress management with our team. We have Michelin, our holistic nutritionist, Christina is our women's empowerment coach and full spectrum doula, and Tasha, our holistic counselor and Reiki master and yoga instructor. So thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.
So today we want to talk about the topic of stress management, and the reason that we're doing that is obviously that we're living through very stressful times, but it's also good to note that before this real pandemic, the World Health Organization labeled stress as a global pandemic years ago. So it was identified that we live in very stressful times, and that we need to be doing more to manage our stress. So even before there was a pandemic that related to a virus, we were living through a pandemic of stress. And now that we've all slowed down, we can probably attest to the fact that we were probably living higher stress lives than we wanted to. So I would like to speak to it from the point of view of a sleep coach and stress management coach, and all of you can speak to in terms of your different profession. But I'm going to start with the topic of fight or flight. So it always comes back to fight or flight. It's very innate in us. We are born, and as a human we have innately in us this fight or flight mode that we live in, and this is born in us because we needed to, as we evolved, survive stressful situations. So a great who I study this all about is a man named Tom Curran, and he explained it very well. So he says that when you are in the fight or flight state, your body turns on a tap of chemicals and turns off a tap of chemicals. So what your body does produce is adrenaline and cortisol, and what your body stops producing is things like melatonin, oxytocin, and serotonin. So that's you're not going to be happy, you're not going to love, and you're not going to sleep, because your body in a stressful situation knows that it needs to be able to run, and you don't know how long you're going to need to run for, because you're running away from a tiger or a competing tribe or whatever in ancient times, right? So you have to think about evolution there. So what does that mean? That means that when you live in a stressful state, your body is producing biochemicals that keep you awake and keep you hypervigilant, and doesn't aid in the help of healthy relationships and good sleep and things like that. So if we look at it like that, we know that we live in a world before this pandemic where we probably didn't come out of that fight or flight state very often. We were always late for meetings, or we were short on money, or we had deadlines, or there was always something that was causing us to live in this fight or flight state and not recover from it. And even when we were in states of relaxation, we were still not really fully recovering. So we weren't going into any sort of deep meditation and our brain recovering, because we were on Facebook, we were watching the news, we were doing things that cause us to stay or remain in that fight or flight for too long. So my question to you is, what do you do to remove yourself from the fight or flight and get yourself into that state where you are recovering from all the things that the fight did to your body, really? Like, so how do you get back to that releasing of oxytocin, releasing of serotonin and melatonin? So does anybody want to go first?
I think for me, it's a number of things, but one of the things that I do fall back on is meditation, right? Because, I mean, taking those deep inhales of breath allows for your sympathetic nervous system to engage, right? So, and there in turn, it allows us to get out of that fight or flight state, right? Where we're all, like you said, that there's a tiger in the bush, we got to run. How long are we going to run for? We don't know, right? And that's like this pandemic. How long are we going to be in this hyper alert state of checking the media, checking our social media platforms and seeing what's happening on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram? Who's saying what? Where did it go this time? How many conspiracy theories are out there? What's the truth? What's not the truth? What are the numbers? I don't know what the numbers are. Oh my gosh, are they too big? Are they too small? I have no idea. It's just information overload that is just too, like, we're ruminating in it, right? I mean, we're just kind of, it's toxic to our health to constantly be sitting in that space where your nervous system is completely overwhelmed with all this bad information. I mean, and right now it's the care homes, right? Like every time you turn on the TV and oh my goodness, you know, like everybody's got someone who they know. If it's not their parents, it's their grandparents or a friend or someone who's in that category who you worry for. So for me, taking, even if it's just a minute, just to breathe in deeply.
Yeah, so that's what I want to ask is, what is your kind of your routine? Do you have a routine for meditation, or do you follow a pattern every day, or do you just realize that when you're in that, you take a moment to do your meditation?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think there's any right way or any wrong way to do it. I think you have to do what feels good for you. And if you find yourself in a moment where you're like, holy Hannah, I need to slow down and I need to take a breath, do it, because that in itself is calming you down. For me, I do it in the morning for about 5 minutes, and then I try to do it sometime through the day, depending on where I feel my body going. And then if I don't do it, then I do it before I go to bed, just to shut my brain off from all that. You know, like I'm always like, breathe lots of love in, breathe lots of love out, and and even if I'm super frustrated and super holding on too tight, that's my mantra. Like I say that to myself until I can feel my body letting go, right? And sometimes it takes 15 minutes depending on how much I've ingested during the day, and sometimes it doesn't, right? It's fluid.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Like having a mantra, and I know for people who don't subscribe to that sort of thing, it's hard to do the first couple of times, but then when you realize that saying things over and over, or having something that you fall back on, once you get into that routine, it doesn't seem silly anymore. It seems you can see the benefits to it. So that's an interesting. So meditation is something that definitely a lot of people subscribe to when it comes to stress management. So I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree as well. I mean, meditation is really important. And I think with anything that comes under this umbrella of stress management or self-care, it's not one size fits all, especially during this time, pre-pandemic and now, and even post. It's what can you personally do for your body? So someone might be able to sit in 30 minutes for their meditation, and that might be, or like you said, a few minutes, 5 minutes. Having some sort of ritual meditation movement connected, you know, to allow you to release in your body. So for me, it's sometimes a sitting or a lying meditation, and sometimes it's dancing or movement meditation. Movement is a big part of my life, so it could be just putting music on in the kitchen and moving while I'm doing the dishes, or dancing with the kids. We release so many things in our body just when we move it, right? So stagnant emotions in our hips and our shoulders and our back. And we're in our homes for an extended period of time, so movement is a really good idea. And along with the meditation, and whether it's a movement meditation that you want to do, or whether it's a sitting meditation, you can find so many different beautiful guided meditations on Spotify, on SoundCloud, online. And I notice even when I do them, sometimes my kids are drawn to come and listen, and maybe they're kind of crawling on me, or maybe they're just listening a little bit. And I think it's really good to expose our children to these things as well, and these tools. I think also another really important is physical activity, but something that really resonated. I'm not watching TV or listening to the news. So my only form of information is coming through social media. So Facebook and Instagram, and then obviously if my family or friends are sharing something that they've seen or heard. And I think physical movement is really, really important. Obviously we know that. We need to exercise, we need to move our bodies. But I think that there's been a lot of pressure since this happened that it needs to look a certain way, or that if you're home all day long, you should be doing the same workout you did before, or find, you know. And I saw someone posted and they said they felt a lot of pressure to come out of this pandemic super strong, super fit, super healthy. And and they opened up to, I can't remember, it was a conversation between two people, and they said, you know, my physical activity is getting out and walking my dogs with the kids, or throwing a ball around, and I think that that's, again, it's not one size fits all. I think it's really important for her to move our body and to get outside in some capacity, but that we don't put pressure on ourselves that we need to be doing an hour and a half yoga class, or we need to be doing, you know, have a trainer online that we follow. I think it needs to ebb and flow with our needs, and not to put that pressure on ourselves.
I think, Christine, I think you posted on your Instagram, this pandemic is not a productivity
Yes. Yeah, I did.
something. Yeah. I thought that was perfect. It's so true, because everybody's feeling like, if I don't come out of this with a new skill, or I'm fit to the, you know, the nines, then I've wasted all this time, and it's not necessarily the case.
And I feel as though, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I feel as that it's kind of pushing us back to the way we were before, right? Because it's pushing us into that, we need to be productive, we need to create. And I do believe we're giving time, I saw the word evolve, for things to evolve, for things to shift, to kind of find, maybe you are painting more, maybe you're not. You know, we talked about books, maybe you're reading books, maybe you're not, that's okay. But that we are easy on ourselves, and we're not getting into that, okay, when I come out of this pandemic, I need to be, you know, 5 pounds slimmer, I need to be able to lift these weights, I need to have learned Spanish, I need to know, you know, I need to know how to cook 20 new meals for my family, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So to catch ourselves not going into that pressure, which is then stress inducing, right?
Exactly.
What a powerful kind of shift the world is to it. The world pushes us to want to be productive, because it's the human condition. We must work, we must be, and never before in modern times have we been to stop, relax, and you don't have to do anything. The government's going to help you with money, and this, like, you know what I mean? It's so strange.
Yeah, it's a very strange slow down, reset, refresh. Almost like, okay, people, you have a chance, you have an opportunity to reevaluate your priorities. What are they?
Right.
So back to flight and to fight and flight. The part of that too is your digestive system. And so what happens with that is the stress response shuts down the digestive secretions, and blood is then taken away from your gut and put towards the organs that are going to support your heart. You know, you're running away, you're very stressed, so you need all that to be supporting your nervous system. So what happens to your digestive system after that? Well, you could, you know, your nutrients are going right through you. You're not absorbing your nutrients, so now you're feeling weaker. Your blood sugar becomes unstable. You could develop something called dysbiosis, which is an inflammation in your gut. It's the mucosal lining. That can lead to allergies, that can lead to food intolerances, that can lead to leaky gut, something called leaky gut, many different things. So around this time when we're stressed, and it's not just stress that can cause this, cause your cortisol to go up, or your different hormones to shift, but it could be excess caffeine, it could be working long hours, it could be over-exercising. You know, when you over-exercise, it puts a lot of stress on your body and creates a lot of free radicals as well. So that then is not helping with the whole stress thing, because it's causing more stress. So with the decreased nutrients, my go-to is trying to eat a healthier diet. So there's certain things you want to avoid. It's the coffee, tea, a lot of it with the caffeine, carbonated drinks, high sugar diets for sure. Even MSG and artificial sweeteners can have an effect. A lot of people too may be ordering in, so you got to watch the refined foods, the greasy, the deep fried foods that you're having, because that also plays havoc on your system, especially when it's already in a stress state. And you want to watch the foods that you're intolerant to. So you might want the ice cream, but you know the dairy is going to affect you. So these are times where we kind of want to go to those nice snacks, or the food groups that maybe aren't the best for us, and we know they're not. The hydrogenated fats, you know, cakes, pastries, things like that. And I know a lot of people are baking, and there's healthier ways to bake too. So there's a lot of good recipes out there. But I think for some of the foods, you want to make sure you're eating the whole foods, organic if you can get them. So vegetables, fruits with full of antioxidants. So you want to go for the berries, and there's a lot of good frozen organic berries that you can go to now when we can't get too many fresh. Anti-inflammatory foods. So there's a lot of phytonutrients in some of the vegetables. So we're looking at like asparagus, broccoli, cabbage. Those are good foods to go to. Brussels sprouts, kale, things like that are really good for keeping your nutrients up and anti-inflammatory. So dark leafy greens, if you want to make smoothies, make sure you add those to your smoothies. Don't just put fruit in smoothies because that's a lot of sugar, natural sugar. And a lot of people tend to throw that in. And then you're unstable with your blood sugar levels. So you got to be very careful. Increase your water intake. Make sure it's filtered water if you can. Bottled water is not the greatest. And also, if you can go with reverse osmosis, or even just if you have a filtration like jug, that's better than just drinking tap water. Alkalinize your diet. So in the morning, it's good to go with hot water and lemon. I do dandelion tea, and that just kind of helps alkalize your body in the morning, because through the night you become more acidic, and disease and viruses cannot live in your body if you have a nice pH level that's alkalized. So look at things like adding that in the mornings, mangoes, raspberries, nectarines, citrus, lentils, pumpkin seeds are good, broccoli, ginger root, arugula salad, things like that. You also want to increase your fiber intake, because you want to make sure that you are regularly going. The fiber also feeds your good microbiome, which helps your immune system. And your immune system, 70% of it is in your gut. So you really want to have a healthy immune system. And when you're under stress, we know that the gut does not get the cells, the blood flow that it needs to. So we really need to do the breathing like everybody's recommending, and make sure you notice when you're not feeling good. And when you're eating, it's a good time to try and eat in an environment where everybody's in a relaxed state. And if it's not happening, then maybe eat alone, because when you're eating and there's arguing going on, or the kids are just being silly and it's a ruckus, then you're not digesting properly.
Right.
So those are good things to think about. There's probiotics too, like there's supplements you can take too. Of course, if you're on medication, you really need to check with your health professional to make sure that you can do some of these things. But a few things, probiotics are good for your gut health. L-theanine is a really good supplement to take because it lowers cortisol and it calms you. Magnesium at night calms you as well too, and we're all low in magnesium, so that's a really good thing to take in the evening. Cooking with sulfur amino acids like garlic and onions are really good for your immune system, so that's something to include. There's also licorice. Licorice is it's a stimulant, so it kind of gives you some energy, so you don't want to take it at night, but it's something to introduce to give you some more energy. Ginseng is also a really good thing to have, mental focus and energy. Rhodiola, really good for students. So I know there's a lot of kids still doing some work, and a lot of them don't have a good feel for the online work. So taking rhodiola helps with concentration and memory, and just different foods to continue to take, introduce into your diet. And we've got a list of things if people are interested in that. But yeah, so I think food is really important. Eating right, eating 3 meals a day if you can, even if a meal is a smoothie, and good healthy snacks.
So maybe something that we could share with some of our Evolve followers would be some good recipes during this time, because you know everybody's baking, and you know everybody's eating snacks, and you know everybody's bored eating. So maybe there's some way to provide a few recipes that people can have on hand, so that when they are baking that muffins or cake or whatever, that maybe they can do it in a healthier way, and then we get a win-win situation. Maybe if you could provide something like that to the group, that would be fantastic. If you have anything, that'd be cool. I just want to draw on the point of magnesium deficiency as well. So we know that because of over farming, over thousands of years, magnesium has been leached from the earth. So our vegetables that even say that they contain magnesium actually don't contain enough for us to. So we're all deficient on magnesium. So that's something that's to help you calm and to help you sleep. So if you can take a supplement or find ways to get that into you, that is really good for calming as well. And to draw on one more point that you said about the blood leaving your gut in terms of digestion, the way that people can remember that is to think about when your mom always said, or when you say to your kids, don't go swimming 1 hour before 1 hour has passed after you've eaten. And that's because when you are eating, you are in a fight or flight, or sorry, when you're swimming, you go into kind of a fight or flight stressful situation. Your body knows that you need to swim, you need to maintain, you don't want to drown. So what's happening is that the blood is leaving your gut to help you digest. It leaves and it goes to your arms to keep you alive. It helps you swim and paddle and whatever it is that you're doing to swim. So that's why you get a cramp, because that blood supply has left your stomach during that state. So that's why you're not encouraged. So the easy way to remember about when you're in a stressful situation and why you might get stomach cramps and why you're not digesting your food properly. Just remember that you shouldn't go swimming 1 hour after you eat.
Another thing too, with regards to that too, when your gut doesn't have the storage of glucose, it will go to your muscles and it'll take that from your muscles and deplete your muscles. So your muscle mass will go down too. And then when you come back and it's got all this glucose, it will turn it into fat. It usually goes into your belly fat. So stress is not a good thing.
No.
Some people think that when they're stressed, they'll lose weight, but in actuality, you can really gain weight quickly too.
And the numbers actually say that, and I know this, you can make anything with statistics, but 95% of illnesses on Earth are related to stress. So whether that's because you are overweight due to stress, or because you have heart conditions because your heart's been stressed out, but if you can't manage your stress, you are likely going to have some sort of health issue down the road, whether it's just weight gain or it could go all the way to depression or anxiety, mental illness, anything like that. So you can tie a lot of things to stress. So you need to manage it.
Absolutely, because stress has this incredible way of compromising our immune system. I mean, and all the things that we've touched on today, sleep, movement, food, meditation, all those things that we've touched on today really tie into that. Those are tools that we can implement to lower that stress level, right? Lower those cortisol levels in our body and help to reset, really, right? I mean, they're all so important in and of themselves, and together, it's vital. It's vital for our optimal health and vitality, right? So we need to be intent, right? Have those. What are your intentions? How do you want to feel?
Yeah.
And be consciously aware of that.
Right. And so I just want to touch on the kind of whole holistic approach that Evolve Women's Wellness can apply to stress. So if we take a look at just the group that's sitting here with us today, Michelin is obviously our nutrition focused center point. So she's somebody who can help you. Obviously, she's named off several things that you can be eating or doing to improve your stress levels and lots of other aspects of your life as well. And Tasha is our holistic counselor. So if you're managing anxiety or feelings of depression or anything that's related to your mental health, that's a kind of a place to go. That's somewhere you can go if you want to do that. So you could connect with nutrition, you can connect with counseling, and Christine is our women's empowerment coaching. So she's going to teach you the ways to really acknowledge what it is you want in your life and kind of reach that point, setting goals and supporting you along the way. And in terms of my contribution as a sleep coach, we're going to look at the different aspects of your life and the habits and the different techniques and tools that you need to get better sleep. And if you put all of these things together, you can have a very successful growth as a human and growth as a woman. I think so. We all offer something that, if put together, would be a really interesting, approach to whole body health.
Absolutely.
Does anybody want to add anything else to our topic today, to share with our listeners about stress management, anything else that they might be able to do? Obviously, it's not one size fits all, but we all deal with it in our own way as women, as professionals.
I think a theme with some people I'm talking to is just that idea of reminding to be, for everyone to be gentle on themselves in this time. I'm really honest with the conversations that I have, whether it be with a client or whether it be with friends and family. And what I'm really appreciating, everyone's very honest with the ups and downs. I think people are really talking about their mental health in a different way, which is really refreshing to see. And that people are reaching out. I think that's the other thing too. We don't have people necessarily, I mean, some of us have partners and families at home, but for those people that are alone, it's picking up the phone and calling someone and talking to someone and expressing how they're feeling. And also to not put pressure, again, on the doing, and that you need to get this done. And honestly, if it doesn't get done today, tomorrow's gonna look, it's kind of Groundhog Day right now for all of us. Yes. Tomorrow's gonna look the same. And, even with a ritual, because I try to talk about, especially my holistic counseling, it's good to have a ritual of meditation, of movement, of journaling, of, getting out into nature. But it doesn't necessarily have to happen at the same time every day or look the same way. So just being gentle that could be fluid in your day. And again, it might be like last night, my movement that I wanted to do happened at 11 o'clock. I from 11 to 11:30, I finished everything I needed to do, and I put on some music and I did some stretching. And so it's just to go with that flow and to be gentle on ourselves in this sort of new rhythm that we're experiencing.
I agree. That's great. Does anybody else want to add anything before we sign off?
For me, I've been trying to declutter, and I find that declutter brings out the yin, and it's good. It's good for your stress management, but you also have to make sure that you're not putting too much expectation. So I'm finding that I wanted to do a whole closet, but I had to realize that no, even a section at a time was really helpful, and it really does. It does feel good because you're getting rid of a lot of things and you're organizing, even if it's a section. So I think that is something really beneficial for.
That's right. And you have to also, you have to note that when you put yourself a little to-do list that you know is capable of doing, even if you write it down with a little square that you're going to check off, once you've done that and you check it off, you're releasing endorphins in your head, right? So you're making yourself feel better just by completing a small task. So my husband calls me chips because I chip away at things. So chip away. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just chip.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Well, if you don't have anything else to add, we'll sign off there. And thank you so much again for the good conversation again today.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great week, and we'll talk next week.
You too. Have a beautiful one. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Mm-hmm.